While exploring Vault-Tec University in a video that I published here, we read a terminal that told us that a Vault-Tec University student named Shelby O'Rourke went out into the field to prove that cryptids existed. After reading the terminal, our miscellaneous quest log was updated with the task, Find Shelby O'Rourke's Shack. We get our first clue as to her whereabouts when we stumble upon the investigator's cabin in the Savage Divide. There we find a terminal, and reading the terminal we learn that an agent of the pre-war Bureau of Alcohol, Drugs, Tobacco, Firearms, and Lasers named Curtis Wilson was sent to investigate the Free States. But on the table next to his terminal is a handwritten investigative report. Investigative Report Shelby O'Rourke. I met a Vault-Tec University student named Shelby O'Rourke who was making preparations for her thesis study. She believes she can prove the existence of local area cryptids, Mothman, Grafton, Snelly, etc. She said she was making plans for her base somewhere in northern Appalachia in the swamp area. O'Rourke's certainty in her ability to find proof may mean she's worth keeping an eye on. My initial background check didn't reveal much besides being an exemplary, if not eccentric, student at Vault-Tec University. And here's our first clue. She had a base somewhere in northeastern Appalachia in the swamp area. This brings us to the mire. The mire is dark and sprawling. Our best bet of finding her headquarters is to scale one of the many watchtowers we find scattered around Appalachia. On the eastern ridge overlooking the mire is the East Ridge Lookout. We see that vines from the mire are reaching up trying to consume it. Looks like a government aid drop fell in here. We'll have to find a way to skirt around it. At the top of the watchtower, we find a few resources, a couple of containers, some binoculars, a first aid kit, and a skeleton on the floor. But using this watchtower, we can look out in any direction to find local points of interest. By surveying the area, we get Ella Ames Bunker, the Abandoned Bunker, Highland Marsh, Southampton Estate, the Hunter's Shack, Gulper Lagoon, and the Excelsior Model Home marked on our map. And with this, our quest log updates. It goes from saying find Shelby O'Rourke's shack to simply investigate the shack, where the only shack we just had marked on our map is the Hunter's Shack. Thankfully, the Hunter's Shack is really close to this lookout tower. A short while later, we arrive at the Hunter's Shack, but we find it swarming with ticks. After killing the ticks, we see that the shack is actually comprised of 2 huts, but there's a terminal in only one. Heading inside the hut, we find Shelby's terminal. Vault-Tec University. Authorized user, Shelby O'Rourke. Motion tracking system alert. Motion detected at multiple locations. Sensors triggered. 3. Creature size, large. Looks like Shelby was in the middle of her cryptid tracking when the bombs fell, or when something else happened to her. We find 3 options in the first, upload data. Uploading location 1, 2, and 3. Processing complete. With this, our quest log updates and we start the daily quest, Queen of the Hunt. We now have to investigate the 3 locations uploaded to this terminal. Site Gamma, Site Delta, and Site Beta. But these aren't the only 3. Sometimes we'll get other sites like Site Epsilon. I think they may have meant to use download instead of uploading, because weren't the locations on this terminal, and to track them we have to download them to our Pip-Boy? At any rate, we'll track these down in a minute. But directly below this, we find Shelby O'Rourke's journal. In entry 1, first entry. I'm pretty sure my friends think I'm crazy for chasing after storytime critters, but hell, I've got this little project approved by the Chancellor himself, so they can talk all they want. The Chancellor? I thought it was approved by the Dean. Who exactly is the Vault-Tec Chancellor? Andy thinks the bigwigs at Vault-Tec just want to dig their claws into my findings. I don't put it past them, but I don't care. My dad hunted these cryptids before I was even born, and he never turned up any real proof, but he also didn't have Vault-Tec technology behind him either. This one's for you, Dad. God rest your soul. And now I think we begin to understand a bit better her unique passion for this project. She's doing it for her dad. In the next one, entry 2, up and running. I'm no technical genius, but I finally finished getting the sensors up last night. No hits according to the data, but anyone who thinks they'd get a hit right off has got to be, as my dad would say, dumber than a coal bucket. Now to sit back and wait. I'll give Nessie a good cleaning to pass the time. Can't have her locking up on me. Bagged my first 12 point with her, so I know she's the one for the job. Well, let's hope Nessie served Shelby well. In the next one, good news, bad news. I got my first hit last night, and I'm mad as hell for missing it completely. If I hadn't panicked the moment I saw the alert, I might have at least caught a glimpse of something running around like I lost my God-given mind. On the bright side, I did go back at dawn and took some casts of what might be Grafton tracks. I suppose it's not a total wash. Next time, Nessie and I will be ready. In the next one, Snally. No real hits in days now. One turned up a bear. I'd have lost my hide if it weren't for Nessie. Guess I gotta be more careful than I thought. I did run across this old timer at the Mega Stop, and we talked about the Snally for a while. Reminded me an awful lot of Dad. Lord, don't let me mess this up. I got a special place on the wall just for old Snally's head. Vault-Tec can have all the samples they want, but that head's mine. In the next one, Judgment Day. It's been, Lord only knows how long it's been, but this whole world's gone down the crapper. I holed up with some folks at Berkeley Springs for a while, living on canned food. No electricity. Some running water, but there's no way of telling just how pure it was. I had to get out of there. Seemed like only a matter of time before things went south. I figured this might be the safest place for me right now. The Reds dropped the bomb on us. I can only hope we paid them back good and proper. Yeah, if it was the Reds. Jury's still out on that. In the next one, A New World, I have these moments where I feel like I'm on a camping trip. I might just poke my head out and see my dad stoking up a fire. I've been setting traps and doing my share of hunting, but it's getting weird. Some of the animals have almost completely died out, but others are getting pretty damn big if you ask me. Yeah, she was disappointed about catching a bear earlier. Imagine if she saw the Yaoguai. And the next one, Eric and Haley. Met a stranger today. Said his name was Eric. Looked about my age, but no real way of telling these days. He was pretty angry. Kept talking about some girl, Haley Porter, that broke his heart. He said they met at Vault-Tec University trying to find some big secret he figured the execs were hiding. I guess Andy wasn't the only one with theories. Sounds like Haley is still out there in Morgantown, but now she's on her own. I wished him luck and he headed off. Probably never see that guy again. And now it's sending us somewhere else? She just so happened to bump into a former Vault-Tec student. Haley Porter was working on a project to reveal some big secret. Looks like we'll have to track her down in Morgantown another day. In the final one, motion detected. I never thought it happened, but the damn sensors are going off. I gotta wonder if maybe a culling of the human race is what it takes to bring these cryptids out of hiding. Nessie's still in decent shape, and I'm all set to take the risk. What have I got to lose in times like these? Well, Shelby, what did you lose? This is the last terminal entry she ever made, which means she likely never came back. She did her research, though. In the next one, we find a category on cryptids. The first, Snallygaster. Descriptive traits, elongated snake or dragon-like body, wings, possibly half-bird, sharp claws and beak. Evidence log, sharp claw marks on trees. Too large for a bear. Took photos and casts. In the next one, Grafton Monster. Descriptive traits, very large both in height and in girth. Potentially no head. White seal-like skin. Evidence log, recent footprints found at the beta site. Took casts and photos. Locomotive sounding call. Possible train in distance, unsure. In the next one, Mothman. Descriptive traits, humanoid with red glowing eyes, very large wings, and capable of flight. Evidence log, none besides testaments of about 30 eyewitnesses. 30 plus eyewitnesses. In the next one, Flatwoods Monster. Descriptive traits, alien, glowing eyes. May or may not have arms, but arms strongly suggested. Cowl-like helmet with dress-like garment, often accompanied by bright lights or burning metallic smell. Evidence log, bright light above mountain region. Took photos, but sadly don't amount to much. Investigated possible site. Some strange burning was present among the trees, but no smell. It may have dissipated overnight. And in the final one, the Wendigo. Descriptive traits, humanoid, gaunt, emaciated. Evidence log found several dissected bodies of animals near Site Delta. Bones showed evidence of sharp teeth marks, and bodies were left in a way that suggested this was not an animal predator. Too many remains left in plain sight. Scattered bodies suggest something grabbed them and brought them there to feed. And that's the end of Shelby O'Rourke's terminal. Looting the first shack, we find scrap and one ammo canister on the ground, and nearby there's an outhouse, but it's booby-trapped. Now for the daily quest. This is a very simple daily quest. Each day we have the opportunity to track down and kill 3 cryptids, but the cryptids are not guaranteed. We now have to navigate to each of the sites. I started by going to Site Beta, and when I arrived I found a Wendigo. killed me, and I failed the quest. When I tried again much later, the computer tagged 3 different locations on my map. Again, starting by going to Site Beta, this time I found a death claw. So it doesn't find a cryptid for us each time. Then I went to Site Epsilon, and here I found a shaggy Yaogwai. Again, no cryptid, but we get 3 chances, and so then we can head to Site Delta. We see the location on our compass get larger as we approach, creeping forward in badly damaged power armor. We crest a hill, go down into a valley, only to discover movement. A Snallygaster. Oh man, I was low level on this character, way below 46, but I managed to survive. Once we kill a cryptid to complete this quest, we loot the cryptid and then press space to extract the sample. Once we have the cryptid tissue sample, we can head back to the hunter's shack and insert it into the nearby tissue analyzer.
Analyzing sample.
Once done, we have to wait for results.
Analysis complete. Knowledge base updated.
And we complete Queen of the Hunt. We never find Shelby's body. It's likely she became a meal for one of these same cryptids she did so much work to try to hunt. I'm glad her father never found out. To know that your passion inspired your child to take on such risk only to be eaten would drive any father mad. But we've picked up the trail of a new mystery. What news did Haley have that she thought would expose the executives of Vault-Tec University? Is she still at Morgantown? We'll track her down in another video, another day. 'Tis the season, and I'm away from the office for a while, so I whipped up a bunch of these Fallout minisodes to tide you over until I get back. If interested in my shirts, you can find a link to my shirt shop in the description below or by clicking here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you all have happy holidays.